Hi everyone, so today I'm making the writing board that I put in a journal. I always put one in every time I make a journal. These are a few that I've already previously made. They are really useful for whoever receives the journal, for just slotting in behind a page, if they want to write in the journal or if they want to stamp anything. This is the one that I use, this is mine. They are really useful, especially if you've got one or two embellishments on a page and it's hard to get a flat surface to put a stamp on or stencil onto a page in a journal when you're making it. You just slot one of these in on the page that you're working on and it just gives you a nice hard firm surface. This one, I put a couple of eyelets in the top, and on some of them, depending on the cover of the journal that I'm making, I'll use some ball pins and attach it onto the back inside cover of the journal so that you can detach it when you want to use it, but it is there stored at the back of the journal when you're not using it. I don't do it with all of them, it depends what the journal's like. Sometimes I'll just put a little tuck or a pocket and then you can just store it in the back. So I will show you how I make these. I use a hard folder. They are £1 from most stores, B&M, wherever. It's just a good thickness of card. This one's gone slightly bent. You can use cardstock and do several layers of it. I wouldn't use a box because if they have the little sort of ridges inside, they're not very sturdy. They're too bendy, they give really easily, whereas this is a good hard firm cardboard. I get 2 or maybe 3 depending on what size, or even 4. I could get 4 out of it depending on what size I'm going to make the board. I was going to measure, so I could get 4 out of one folder. So for £1 you're getting 4 of these, which I think is just ideal. Okay, I'm going to use this board as a template. You can measure, I think they measure 6, or approximately 6 by, that's just over 8 this one is. You don't want it as big as the cover of the journal, you want it to go inside it. So I'm just going to use this one as a rough template for it. I'm going to mark it up with a pencil. There. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it with Stanley. I'm just going to go along this way first. I'm going to go along this pencil line, so just put I use a metal ruler. It is such a useful tool, the metal ruler. And you've got to press down quite firmly and you'll have to go over it several times to cut through. Okay, and then turn it, and I'm going to go down this one. Line your ruler, and then again. Just several times, pressing down quite firmly. You can hear when it's gone, it sounds different. Okay, there we are. Let's pop this one out of the way. Now it doesn't matter that your edge is a little bit rough because I'm going to go over it with a sanding block. I just got a cheap sanding block from a DIY store, and then I'm just going to go over the edges just to soften them off. Also, with this being a glossy folder, I'm just going to roughly go over those edges as well, because it just gives you a key to glue to, because I'm going to glue papers onto these. It hasn't got to be a great job, it's just smoothing it all off so they're not sharp, rough edges. So on this one, just circular motions, just to give you something to key when you're gluing the paper on. Okay. So that's the base of our board. Okay. If I move that out of the way for a minute, you can see probably better. There we go. Now I'm going to cover this with papers. This is for the Voyager journal. So I've chosen some papers that I've just printed off. So on one side I'm going to do the ship. Let's stick that one on there. On that side, and on the other side I'm going to use, this is another printable that I did, and it's the logs from a ship. So I thought I would do that on the reverse side of it, with it being the Voyager. Okay, so first of all I'm going to glue onto the board. I'm going to use Scotch glue stick for this one. Make sure you get all your corners covered down the edges. Obviously it doesn't matter which side is which. I cover all of it in the glue. Choose which side. I think I'm going to go with the long one, with it being on a board. Now this I think is going to be slightly short, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to gild it with some gilding paste. So let's get it as square as you possibly can. You have got a slight bit of manoeuvre in it. Press it down well. And then to take the edge off here, I sand it. I don't cut it. Just run your hand along the edge so you can feel where the edge is. And then all I do is my sanding block, and I just rub it along the edge. And the paper then comes off nicely. Any little pieces you've got left, again, just sand over them. Go around all the edges, just sand the edges again. And that one there, there's a slight bundle up there, but that's fine because, like I say, I'm going to gild it. Get rid of that piece that we've taken off, and I'm going to do the same now on the reverse. My folder's obviously been stored, so it's slightly bent. Now I'm going to do the ship side of this piece of paper, I think, because it being the Voyager, it just goes well with it. Some Then I'm going to glue the board, not the paper. Make sure you totally cover it. These are really handy to make, just to use yourself when you're making a journal as well. Like I said, if you've got an uneven surface to be able to work on, it's just pop it in and it works so well. Okay, I'm just going to line this one up now. Again, press down on your edge. So you pushed it all down. And I'm going to do exactly the same again. I'm going to sand this off. Any little pieces, just buff off with the sander. There. Let's remove any bits now from wood. It is really dusty doing this, that is the only problem. Okay, so there we have the start of our board. I'm just going to get a wipe because I have so much glue on my hands now. I'm just going to keep sticking to everything. I think that's an essential thing to have nearby as a baby wipe. Okay. So I am just going to go over this lightly with a little bit of vintage photo just to take the crispness off some of the print on here. Just here and there, just to make it look a little bit more aged. Go along the edges. Now, like I said, I am going to gild around the edges. So it doesn't matter, like I say, if there's a bit of the board showing, doesn't matter. If you're not going to be doing that, then make sure you line up totally. Still gluey. Just going to do exactly the same on the other side. You don't have to do this, this is just choice. It will smudge a bit because in a minute I'm going to Mod Podge over the board. This just gives it a seal on it, so if you do get any splashes on it. The other thing I have done before now is I've turned it that way so my papers don't, but I haven't this time. I've done them both the right way. So make sure when you turn it over you turn it that way and not that way. Otherwise you'll have one side upside down. Okay, so that I'm happy with now. I'm not going to gild it until I've put the Mod Podge on and that is dried. It dries pretty quick. I only put a very thin layer on. It does smudge some of this ink, so you get a different look again then. My little sponge. Sure I haven't got any more bits all over it. And let's just give this a thin coating. Mod Podge. Doesn't matter if it goes on the edges, that's fine. Just stick any little bits down if you've missed them. You will find when you do this that your paper will start to bubble slightly. That is fine, it will go back down. Don't worry about it. First time I did these, it all crinkled up and it was like, oh my gosh, I've ruined it. But you haven't. I can see them starting to just bubble up now in areas. I'm going to flip that. I would normally let that side dry before doing the other side, but I'm going to turn it over and do the other side straight away. So I just do a very thin coat on this. Doesn't need to be thick. And plus the fact I don't want to be sitting around waiting for hours for it to dry. I just want to get on when I'm making something. I have no patience waiting for things to dry. No lumpy bits on it. Okay, so that's both sides. I'll lean that up and I'm going to give that a quick blast. With the heat gun, just to dry it off a bit quicker. Just noticed there I've got a hair in it, so I'm going to remove that now. Before it sets. Okay, and give it a quick brush. Okay, that's a touch colour now. So that is now sealed with the Mod Podge. I'm going to put the gilding on the edge, and then when I've gilded it, I like to put corner protectors on. I just think it finishes it, makes it look nice. You don't have to do that. It's just a look that I like with it. So I use Buffet in the antique gold. I love this stuff. I've got a load of these. They're absolutely fabulous. I use them in all sorts of things. So just on the very edge, now I give it a coat of the gilding, slightly coming over the edge. That will cover where the paper didn't quite go up to the edge. See, now you wouldn't know. And I do all the edges in this. I just think this gives it a really nice finish. It looks good. Again, not essential. And if it goes over the edges, just give it a little smudging, and that just gives it a nice little shine along the very edges. Lastly on this side. This is why you use the sandpaper, because, especially with it being a glossy folder, it just helps to cause a key for things to stick, such as this in your glue. On that bottom edge. The trouble with this gilding, you get it on your fingers, you don't realise where you've got it, and you start spreading it around everywhere. Just seeing I've got it on the board in the middle, but it doesn't matter because it'll dry. It's not going to come off. That's not going to make any difference. Okay, so there, just a little bit there. Okay, happy with that side. Just turn it over, have a quick look at this side. Got a blob of it there, that's fine. Really doesn't matter. Okay. And there we have the gilding is done around the edges. Just going to give my fingers a wipe so that we don't put this everywhere else. I'm covered in it now. The other useful thing to have is a roll of kitchen roll. It's dry when you've washed your hands. Okay. So that's that. Now I'm just going to put on the corner brackets. Put the lid back on. Gilding paste. Okay. You can buy these in various sizes. I bought a job lot of this side just because they're good for this, what I'm doing now. So I just open them up slightly. And my little pliers. And then pop them. I didn't open that one up enough. Try again. And you pop them up onto the corner. Straighten them out, and then I've got some pliers that are flat. They haven't got the ridges on them because they can mark these, and I just give them then pinch into place. You could put a little bit of glue on, but I find I don't need to. They tend to stay put. Knock them into shape and pinch. There we go. So I just put the others on. If you were to put glue on, I would just use, I'll show you, what I would do, just probably white PVA glue. I've got these tiny little bottles for the small work with a fine point on it, and I would just probably just do a little line. You don't want too much because otherwise it's going to ooze out and go all over your journal that you've just done. There you go. Pop that on, flat pliers, and pinch it in. See straight away the glue's oozing out. And again, let's give that a pinch, both sides. Open them up. I love making these. I can spend a whole day making these boards. They're so easy to do, and they're just, I think they look lovely. You can make them really bright, you can make them vintagey. I mean, basically it's whatever paper you have. I've used coffee dyed paper on them before. You can use pretty much anything. A little bit of glue down there. Go on your edges if you so wish. Pop that onto the corner. You just need to make sure that you don't catch your paper with it and lift your paper when you're sliding them on. Give it a pinch. Wipe any excess glue. Again, give it a pinch. And the last one. A little bit of glue. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give these a go. They are great fun to make. They really are. They are so easy, cheap to make, and they look fantastic. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, share it, and hit the subscribe button. And have some fun making these. And there we have our writing board for our Voyager journal, all ready to go in the back of the book. All right, take care everybody. Bye.